kids? Do you like podcasts? Do you like Disney podcasts? Oh boy, then you gotta meet my super swell friends in the world of commotion.
Join 3 Disney fans, Matt, Jared, and Danielle, as we explore inside and outside the Disney parks.
Follow the guide map with us and rope dropping as we make stops at every attraction and create the ultimate Disney ranking list. The unofficial Disney list for cool kids who like good stuff, registered trademark.
Currently, I've got security as number 1. I think it's probably going to move.
Best experience you have so far. And dive into the latest and not so latest things with us outside the parks and outside the bubble.
I do not wish to participate in your pool. Where is your observation area?
It's like 2 podcasts in one. So keep your hands, arms, and belongings inside the vehicle as you enjoy
the mildest ride in the wilderness.
New episodes of World of Commotion drop Wednesdays on the Zero Science Network.
Welcome to another episode of Jukebox Zeroes, where your idols come to die. I'm Lilz. I don't know where Pat is, but I'm sure someone will be knocking on the door soon enough.
Oh, no, I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit late.
Oh, you're there.
Yeah, sorry.
You're positive? You're positive about this? We're not going to be interrupted with another, character?
Oh, dude.
Another odd character of sorts?
Oh, man. I hate that guy. I hate that Gene Applebaum guy. So he left a message on the machine.
Yeah, there's 2 guys now. You said everything was fine, and now we've got a second guy bothering us.
Yeah, first it was the Steinberg guy, the detective, but now I got this other guy. I don't know if he's like a PI or maybe he works for the FBI or CIA or something. I don't know. But he left a pretty cryptic voicemail on my machine. I'm just going to ignore it for now. I think we should just kind of move forward, and maybe we'll hear from him again. We probably will, but not today.
Yeah, that's probably all we can do at this point. Yeah, welcome to Season 4. We're stupid jerks now. A trench full of urine. I'm so mad at all 5 of my dads. Straight from the duck. Please, it's Dumpsterton. Tell us more about the history of clowns.
Wow, that's a lot. A lot
no
to rack
context.
up.
No, I'm not going to explain that to anyone.
It's going to be huge...
whatsoever.
It's going to be a huge payoff on the season finale when we have 26 of these taglines, and it just takes 15 minutes to rattle through all of them.
We should put that on a shirt.
I am lost in a very fun way.
Hey, we have a guest.
We sure do.
That's our new guest coming in here. It's Derek Paul from Crowfeeder.
Woo! Hi.
Howdy.
Hi.
Welcome to the cast.
You have no idea what we were just talking about.
I honestly, literally do not at all.
Me neither, dude. There's some sort of mystery happening on this program. There's a character, Father Alexander, who mysteriously died or drowned or fell over or something. I don't know. But
we've got a season-long arc happening here.
I think so. I think that's what we're going towards. But we're gonna have to see how this plays out.
Wait, hang on. You think so? You think so?
I think so, yeah.
This whole thing has been revolving around you, and you just think so.
That's kind of just how I roll. It's just off of the top of my head. Off the top of the guff.
Cool.
Right, you're responsible for the lore wiki on that.
I like to keep it vague to, people can sort of fill in their own interpretations.
You're building the extended canon of the Jukeverse. I don't know.
Oh, it rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. I apologize for that immediately. And hey, it's the apology section.
I made mistakes. I want to take them back.
Wow.
I have something to apologize for off the top. I'm just going to apologize to anyone who came to this episode expecting our usual blend of album-based goofballery, because this episode's going to be slightly different this time around. You'll find out why in a little bit. You want to apologize for anything, Pat?
Yeah, I'm going to apologize up front. I didn't do a lot of research for this episode, so I'm going to be kind of learning with you guys today, but that could be fun, too. I mean, I was around in 1999. I certainly remember culturally what was happening that year, not to give too much away.
And I guess since we're doing this now, do you have anything you would like to apologize for, Derek?
Yeah, kind of. Actually, my head might be in a weird space. Like, there's first, I was the one that was like, out of the list of choices, I was like, this subject. So sorry for that. And then second, I spent the last 3 days trying to absorb as much culture of the time as I could. So it's been bad. Some of it's been painful. So I might end up a little salty.
Yeah, from the sound of it, like, taking in that much late 90s culture may have done something to break your brain a little bit.
It's that, but also it really shook the last hanging on of any former emo kid nostalgia that I had left in me is gone. Like, nostalgia is a lie. The past was terrible. It's never
all a ruse.
Yeah, your memory and fondness for things that happened years ago is complete bullshit, and it's how you justify to yourself the way that you got through it.
And right now will surely be terrible soon enough, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is nostalgia these days but just a fucking marketing gimmick? Just a way to get more money from you and keep you coming back.
Yeah, pretty much. Why don't we just start getting into the concept of this episode then?
Yeah, let's do a podcast. Why not? Like, that's what we're here to do.
So here's the full context. Like, before we set every individual episode in motion, what Pat and I have, we have like a little spreadsheet full of albums that we're eventually going to cover. And at one point I had the Woodstock 99 soundtrack attached to it. And then when I asked you, Derek, to be a guest on, because that's honestly something we've been talking about on and off at various LOL shows forever, in the before times when it was safe to go outside. But basically, like, you picked that, I looked at that, and then, like, I actually looked at the album on Wikipedia and realized, oh, there's, like, 3 CDs in this thing.
Yeah.
And, like, and I'm sure after, like, after what we went through with Angelic to the Core, I don't think we're gonna be doing any multi-CD albums again for quite a while.
We don't need to devote a 3-episode arc to Woodstock 99.
Well,
this isn't
the
the murder of JFK. This isn't like the assassination of JFK. This is fucking Woodstock 99.
Well, and in doing the immersion experiment I was trying on myself, I found 2 of those comp CDs on Spotify, and like half of the tracks for each one are grayed out, so there's no way to get a affordable, findable, like,
oh geez,
the complete list. So I ended up having to like rely on playlists where people, like, one of them had Alanis Morissette, and then another one was clearly like, no man, that's girls, I don't want to listen to it, and it just like completely skipped anyone who wasn't like heavy and duty.
That's girls.
I mean,
that's the mentality, though, I know.
Yeah, like the vague memory I have of this cultural event was everyone going, that's girls, and Lilith Fair had like just happened, and it was kind of shocking to see like
that sort of regression happened. Yeah,
it's the whiplash response.
So yeah, I wasn't sure how exactly to pull that off until like I decided to like just take it in a completely different direction. Because like I ran this idea by both of you guys, and you both seemed pretty amenable to it. Rather than talk specifically about like Woodstock 99's music, because that's attached to like, a very specific, very infamous piece of music, music lore, we're just going to have like a big, long sort of roundtable discussion about Woodstock in general. If you've ever heard like an episode of the podcast The Dollop, or honestly heard something by our friends at Rock Candy, it'll be basically one of those kind of episodes. I have a very long-form essay prepared here all about the history of Woodstock, including all of the forgotten ones, and we're basically just going to have ourselves a little talk. So strap in. You're going to learn today.
Ooh, can we do characters?
You're going to learn.
We can do characters and voices.
Of course we do characters and voices.
What do you think this is? This is a podcast, for Christ's sakes.
I'm so happy to be on podcast.
Hey.
We haven't forgotten we're stupid.
Oh.
So anyway, I'm going to start my yammering on, and feel free to chime in with your comments at any point. Because I got a lot of talking to do right now.
All right.
Okay. The first ever Woodstock Music Festival took place in 1969. Originally scheduled to run from August 15th to the 17th, but ended up extending an additional date into Monday morning. August 18th, due to bands running long and intermittent rainstorms interrupting proceedings. It attracted an audience of more than 400,000 people and featured a lineup of major 60s names like Jimi Hendrix, Jefferson Airplane, The Who, Sly and the Family Stone, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Joan Baez, and more.
Yeah,
It was
decent lineup.
And the rest.
I like their early stuff better.
The rest?
Man, how's there not a band called The Rest? That's fucking...
Oh, what is fucking?
Maybe there is.
Maybe there is, but not one that we know of.
There kind of is. I think Grateful Dead, after Jerry Garcia died, they're called like The Other Guys or some shit.
They tour now as Dead and Company.
Oh.
I don't know if that's quite the same thing, though.
I hope Sublime with Rome opens for them.
I guarantee you if there is a band called The Rest, they're like some dippy cover band operating out of like a Skoda.
That's what I mean.
Let's just the three of us do it.
Okay.
Done.
The 3-person Steely band cover. We got it. Yeah. We can do all of Steely Dan with just 3 people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
with
they totally could.
Bass, drums, and keyboard. Let's just do it.
Yep. You can do bass, drums, and keyboard. Derek can be Michael McDonald, and I'll...
That was what I was going to say. I was like, let me just handle all Michael McDonald duties. I will do a 7-part self-harmony for Peg.
I love it. I admire the enthusiasm.
Anyway, the Woodstock Festival was named for the New York town of Woodstock, but was ultimately hosted on the farmland of Max Yazgur in Bethel under major time constraints. The original 1969 festival itself would go down as one of the largest music festivals of all time, become a touchstone of the 1960s, and a staple reference in pop culture. Despite all of the reverence surrounding the festival, however, the actual lead-up to it and behind-the-scenes drama which occurred could describe at best, as chaotic as hell. For starters, for all the boomer adulation and wistful remembrance of the original festival, both the town of Bethel and Wallkill, the original planned host, wanted nothing to do with it at the time. After the organization behind Woodstock had gotten approval from Wallkill town officials in spring of 1969 with the assurance that no more than 50,000 people would be in attendance, residents of the town immediately opposed the project. So intense was their opposition to the festival that the town board of Wallkill ultimately halted production on Woodstock sets in early July by passing an ordinance that there could be no gatherings of over 5,000 people at any given time without a permit. The conditions to getting these permits were made so nebulous and convoluted that it basically made it impossible for promoters to continue work in Wallkill. Once the venue had been selected in Max Yazgur's farm, the organizers ran into major opposition from residents who boycotted the farm in protest and refused to issue formal permits despite having already been approved for them. Bethel's town board ultimately relented and allowed work to continue, but on the condition that all structures must be removed by the start of September. By this point, the venue change and the bureaucracy that the Woodstock Planning Committee were forced to contend with put festival production drastically behind schedule. 3 days before the festival was scheduled to commence, the committee was forced to decide with their construction foreman whether to complete fencing and ticket booths, without which would leave the organization bankrupt, or to finish the stage itself, which would leave them with no festival whatsoever if they didn't.
Right.
It was kind of a lose-lose situation for them, if you think about it.
A lot of this sounds like someone dealing with like setting up their first basement show ever on just like, and it's successful on just like way too big of a scale. Like, I don't know, I taped the adapter to the right cable and made it happen, and someone put a flyer up, and nobody wants us to do it, but we're doing it.
It just
adds zeros.
Yeah. It just kind of smacks of that typical boomer idealism of, yeah, we could do it. Fuck it, man. Come on. Like, it's all about
put your
love
mind to it.
Yeah, I mean, the power of love. It's fine, guys. We'll overrun your town with a bunch of drug addicts. Sure.
You're only poor because you don't believe in yourself.
I put up one flyer on the center of North Campus where everyone walks past, and everyone is going to have to look at it.
Yep.
I mean, you say that as a joke, but it used to work really well when you were on South Campus. And
I'm responsible for that myself during one of my shitty high school bands.
Well, I just mean like in college at UMass Lowell, like it was real fun because you could put up on South Campus, you could put up one flyer, one place, and then the basement shows were like across the street from where anyone would see a flyer, so you could just do that and it would work.
That is so awesome. But that decision whether to go with the ticket booths or the stage was basically made for them the next morning. When 50,000 early concert goers, the amount that the organization had assured Bethel would be the maximum, had arrived to set up tents in front of the half-finished stage. Since the fencing and ticket booths were never completed, concert goers were able to walk onto the site regardless of whether or not they had tickets. The aftermath of which left the planners of Woodstock close to financial ruin. So, oops.
So they are doing basement shows.
I suppose it is.
I mean, what was their plan for, like, concessions and shit? Like, if they were only expecting 50,000 people.
Oh, I don't think there was a plan for concessions.
Yeah, it seems pretty BYOB, or like...
They very clearly hadn't thought that far.
I mean, you look at the pictures from Woodstock 69, there's... No one there is like over 130 pounds. Like, I think they're just doing drugs and not eating.
If it hadn't rained, they would have all died of dehydration.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned dehydration, considering what's coming up.
Oh yeah, perfect.
But anyway, the influx of attendees the weekend of the festival caused massive traffic jams around Bethel and surrounding areas, and the town's recent rains caused muddy roads and fields that were ill-equipped to deal with large crowds of people. On top of this, inadequate facilities had been provided for sanitation, refreshments, or first aid, leading the hundreds of thousands in the crowd to struggle with the bad weather, food shortages, and poor sanitation. So not only were they hungry, they stunk.
I'm like, with the mud, I'm just envisioning, like, the Artax scene from Neverending Story, but it's Cheech trying to get Chong to come out of the mud.
I can't even imagine what the stench of that festival must have been like. Good God.
That has to imply that Tommy Chong got incredibly depressed somehow.
I mean,
that's why Artax went down.
Out of the two of them, I see like Chong is more capable of it, and he would suffer silently.
Maybe.
Yeah, I suffer in silence, man.
If we're smart, we will not do a Cheech Marin impression.
I was just thinking that. I was like, nah.
Sullivan County, the county in which Bethel resided, ended up declaring a state of emergency, and personnel from Stewart Air Force Base were called in to ensure order and shuttle performers in and out of the concert site. On the Sunday of the event, New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller nearly called in 10,000 National Guard troops to the festival, but was persuaded against it by the festival organizers.
Okay.
How did a hippie festival organizer convince anyone not to... You can tell it's the past.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Because, like, you did this today. It was like National Guard would have been there before anyone asked them to.
Right.
Oh, they would have been there just for the opportunity to punch hippies.
Mm-hmm. There would have been 3 deaths before anyone even erected a stage.
Predictably, the media coverage was unkind, with papers like the Daily News running front-page headlines with titles like "Traffic Uptight at Hippie Fest" and "Hippies Mired in a Sea of Mud." Which sounds like the perfect title for some stoner metal band, for some stoner metal album, "Hippies Mired in a Sea of Mud."
You know what? It just made me think just Alice in Chains in general.
Absolutely.
I don't know why, but yeah.
I think that's just like a great tagline for Woodstock in general. Hippies mired in a pool of mud. And music happened.
Music occurred around the mud.
I mean, the volume of mud definitely overstated the music factor.
Come for the music, stay for the mud. Oh, God, the mud.
It gets in places you think it won't. It's... Imagine, though, like... how exfoliated everyone must have been on their way out. Like, the smoothest skin.
Oh, 100%. They were rolling around in their skivvies.
So the smoothest taints of all time.
100%.
Never has a taint been so just baby soft and pure.
I'm telling you, man. No, I can tell you, this is what nature does. The sand is, the ground is coarse to help remove the dead skin from your taint.
Humankind was not meant to wear deodorant, man. You were.
And now we sun our taints doing yoga.
Who was it that shared that image in the O group, the butthole yoga?
I don't know,
like
like
Jim. Oh, no, it
people
wasn't.
did.
Jim said that he would do it, though, and I was like, yeah, that's right, man.
Wait, that he would share it or that he would do butthole yoga?
He would do the butthole yoga.
I'd just be worried about a sunburn, because that area's never seen that much sunlight. So 15 minutes on, like, virgin
that's a
taint,
lot.
I guess.
Yeah,
No, I think you have to build up to it.
I'm terribly pale. I get terrible sunburn on just my regular exposed skin.
Yeah, so like it's gonna be a tough game. Well, I think you have to work up to it. Like start off with a couple minutes and work your way up to 15, and eventually you get up to a power hour, and that's when you've like truly seen the light.
Then,
of,
like,
You
God.
practice by having your naked butt just in front of like a space heater for a little while.
Yeah,
You get it used to the heat, yeah. But then, okay, so then you run into this area of, like, what if it's exposed to the sun too much? You know, like people who tan too much over time, and then, you know, that's like a high-risk area for melanoma. But you almost never check to see if something changed in the skin tone of your taint. So, like...
well, imagine going to the
suppose you don't.
dermatologist with that complaint. Like, what are you doing? Like this.
you
area
have to
shouldn't even-
examine my taint! It's been exposed!
I don't normally have to do this, but why is this so tan down here? Why is it darker than the rest of your body? Somehow.
You would never have to... Okay, so some people bleach their assholes, and if they got a tan in the taint and everywhere else that the sun doesn't happen, it might make the asshole look lighter by comparison, so they could just save that money.
Absolutely, just bleach it in the sun or tan
Yeah.
it, get it darkened.
What if it bleaches like a cow skull in cartoons? This is related to Woodstock. This has so much to do with the 60s.
So, Woodstock, that's... the New York Times, meanwhile, ran an editorial titled Nightmare in the Catskills, which contained the excerpt, "The dreams of marijuana and rock music that drew 300,000 fans and hippies to the Catskills had little more sanity than the impulses that drive the lemmings to march to their death into the sea. They ended in a nightmare of mud and stagnation. What kind of culture is it that can produce so colossal a mess?"
America.
They were not forward-thinking at all.
In spite of the negative publicity, Woodstock would receive a reputation for being a remarkably peaceful affair, with no fights breaking out and little incident. There were 2 recorded fatalities, however. One from insulin usage. That's what the Wikipedia article said.
Usage,
I'm not sure.
lack thereof.
Yeah, I don't know whether that meant lack thereof. They meant lack thereof,
Man,
or if
I'm
it was like
jonesing, man. I need something. Well, I got like this insulin, man, but like I need. No, give me that, man. Let me shoot it up. And then they just die of a fucking sugar overdose.
Did they, like... Someone
you
thought it
already
was...
had all my LSD, man. All I've got is my insulin. I need that to live.
I wish I had known this so I could do some research ahead of time about, like, okay, but if you mainline insulin, is that different than injecting it where you're normally supposed to? Like, if you go right into a
Yeah.
vein...
Oh, I'm sure it's like
Maybe.
a sugar rush to your heart, and it'll just like make your. Yeah, I'm sure it's not great.
That seems completely anathema to like getting high.
Yeah.
It gives you a. It's just like, oh man, I want to jog now.
Oh, man, I'm gonna get so fucked up on Narcan, you don't even know.
If I had known this was going to spur such incredible discussion, I would have looked further into that.
I'm gonna get sober
nope,
as
I
hell
just-
right now.
But nope, I just have the Wikipedia article that says there were 2 recorded fatalities, one from insulin usage, and one caused when a tractor ran over someone sleeping in a nearby hayfield.
Oh my god! What the fuck? Of all the- So I mean, at least no one died from a bad trip. So kids, you're gonna be fine. All right.
Do the
if you're having
drugs.
A bad trip. Just do the drugs, and you'll be fine. You're not gonna die from it.
Just stay away from hayfields.
Do the drugs, never sleep.
Stay the fuck away from pepperell.
Yeah.
Oh, you could just, in general, yeah.
Yeah, do that even if you're sober. There's nothing in pepperell for you.
Yeah.
The peacefulness of Woodstock would stand in pretty stark comparison, however, to the Altamont Free concert, which occurred just a few months later in California, which presented itself as a Western equivalent to Woodstock, but it would erupt into incidents of violence and property damage, spurred largely by the decision to use Hell's Angels as the security team.
So it's more of a Pacific Northwestern Woodstock.
Those Hell's Angels, by the way, their payment $500 worth of beer.
Oh, I was gonna
get
say
it.
meth.
Oh, I'm sure that they bring their own meth.
It was a simpler time.
It was BYOM. Oh God, what happened?
Ooh, we just entered Taint Cam.
Oh, my meth joke. My meth joke killed Pat's camera.
Oof. So I see you have not been getting the sun we were talking about.
No,
I guess not.
For the listener, the camera landed in a way that it was just straight on the taint.
Oh, did it shoot right up at the light there? Okay, please continue. There's a lot to cover here. We're still in 1969. Anyway, on to Woodstock 1984. It was Duran Duran. Oh, yeah, it was Duran Duran, Bruce Springsteen.
Kaja Gugu.
Huey Lewis and the News. Oh, man, it was a great show.
Wait, no, but there was like an 80s one that had...
And Country Joe McDonald.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's at all the Woodstocks.
Oh, yeah.
So why wasn't Red...
I'm not done talking about 69, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
In the immediate aftermath of the festival, Max Yazgur, the owner of the farm, ended up becoming something of a pariah in Bethel and was sued by his neighbors for property damage. Yazgur himself, however, would receive a $50,000 settlement to pay for the damages that his own farm had incurred, which he would sell in 1971 after turning down an opportunity to host a second Woodstock in 1970. He later died of a heart attack in 1973 and received a full-page obituary in Rolling Stone magazine, one of the full musicians to receive such an honor. I mean, honor depending what you feel about Rolling Stone.
Just thinking about how little that would have meant to him. Like, I have a farm. Okay, I guess you can rent it for your show. I never want to do this again. And then he gets, like, full-page memorialized in a magazine that caters to the thing that he just barely knew enough about. He knew so little about it that he didn't know he should have said no.
Yeah.
I don't care what you guys like.
Hey, man, thanks for letting us crash at your place, man. It's real chill of you.
I made friends with a cow.
And then a year later, he's like, nothing will grow. Nothing will grow. The corn comes out fucked up and traumatized.
He just sees, like, bite marks all over his cow because some fucking hippie tried to take a bite out of it. Hey, man, we get a fresh steak.
He pulls out a potato, and it's got a face that's just, like, terrified of everything. It's like, this one had the brown acid. Shit. Just all these terrified potatoes come out a year later.
I hosted a hippie festival last year, and now my corn won't look at me.
All the produce is traumatized.
Like it grows, but it's not the same. It just things are different. The relationship is just off.
All my tomatoes just seem more hollow, figuratively and literally. Today, however, the site of the festival is preserved as a national landmark while also serving as the staging area for the Bethel Woods Center for the Arts, an amphitheater, performing arts center, and museum, and a monument plaque has been placed on the site as well in commemoration.
Good.
Here, this plaque to commemorate the time that hippies ruined my livelihood.
And likely accelerated my death.
Yeah, seriously, that is, like, so close to, like...
That's way too close for it to not have, like, to be under that much stress.
Good point.
And then
everything
as a farm man.
This festival killed that poor farmer.
Yeah.
How old was he?
I mean, it's I don't know, in his like 50s or something.
32.
Yeah. Yeah, when you work on a farm, you're like 50 by the time you're 20. So
it's weird. You'll look 50 when you're 20, but you will live to be 1,000,000 because you're just like I don't know. My mom's like friend of the family, whatever. He's like 70, and his back is shredded. Like if you don't see his face or see that he's like hunched over, if he's like at the pool and you just see him from behind, you're like, is that fucking Dolph Lundgren? And it turns around and it looks like just a much sleepier, older Sacha Baron Cohen. You're like, what the fuck happened? And it's farm shit.
It stands to reason, too, that, like, for all of, like, the neighbors who just turned him into a pariah and, like, just stopped him on the street to be like, you bastard, you brought the hippies. There were probably just as many hippies that looked upon him like some kind of, just some kind of folk hero or something.
Yeah, totally.
I'm sure he didn't want that attention either.
Everybody's kids loved him, and he was pissed because he couldn't still talk to their parents.
And they're the ones buying the milk.
Yeah. Oh, it was a dairy farm?
Yeah, Yazgura Farm was a dairy farm.
Good cheese?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I thought you did Lilz, I thought you did your research. What the hell?
Yeah, surprisingly, Wikipedia did not mention anything about the quality of the cheese.
You didn't visit the farm? I mean, it's only, what is it, like 2 hours away?
Yes, Wikipedia sent their editors in time machines back to Woodstock to get perfect citations.
Oh, the farm is closed down. Okay. Yeah, because he's dead.
I was just trying to confirm that my produce chunk was not actually factually relevant at all, and I didn't realize we were going to see if this produced a bit as well.
I mean, one can never tell with this podcast. Yeah. So
how did the cows do at the 80s Woodstock?
But of course, the 1969 concert would not be the end of Woodstock as an annual event. In the late 1970s, plans were set in motion for a sequel event by organizers who worked on the first one. Woodstock 2, it was called, intended to recapture the size and scope of the original 10 years later. Instead, the planning committee were turned down everywhere they went. Woodstock 2 was pitched to a number of county areas, including Lodi, Walton, and Richford, and were soundly rejected. The town of Meredith, New York, passed on hosting the festival by a margin of 90% of votes, despite the committee's offer to pay $1 million,
Jesus.
which at the time would have meant there would be no local taxes for Meredith for 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
You have to want something so little.
Yeah. They turned down, like, no taxes so that they could not have hippies.
Good God. Yeah, that's a serious hatred of hippies. I mean,
think-
understandable. They're a scourge.
Honestly, I bet that they saw what happened to that guy's farm. They saw how little he complained, but how shriveled he became, and they were like, no, we have too much to live for.
Well, I think they saw Woodstock, and then they also saw Altamont, which happened right after. They're like,
oh, yeah.
We're at the end. What year was this supposed to be? At the end of the, 78 or something?
Yeah, it was supposed to be 79 it was supposed to be around 1979 to commemorate the 10th anniversary.
Yeah, once we get through the 70s, hippies are way more violent. Like once we get through like Charles Manson and like all that shit, and just the economy being shitty in the 70s, the oil crisis, all that shit.
Even the festival's namesake of Woodstock, New York, turned down a multi-million-dollar offer to host it. A report from the town's board meeting rendered a quote from the town's supervisor: "It's taken us 10 years to recover from the first Woodstock festival."
Yeah,
and it wasn't even hosted in Woodstock, New York.
Oh my God, idiots!
That's how much no one wanted anything to do with Woodstock at that time.
Plus, like, at this point, you've already had, like, a Star War, you've had a Jaw. You don't need this kind of thing to happen for there to be, like, a spectacle that people go to.
A single Star War and a single Jaw.
Well, we didn't. I mean, I guess Star War hinted that there were multiples.
One super big guy.
This is a huge fucking guy.
This is a huge fucking guy with all kind of teeth, just wrecking shit.
Star Treks. All of them.
Yeah, you know what I'm really interested in? It's 1979 right now, so I saw the first one 2 years ago, and I really want to know, like, okay, that guy who's got all the black armor on, right, and he breathes funny, what was he like as a baby? That's what I'm fucking waiting to see. What was he like as a kid? I bet he raced. I bet he was doing some racing.
I want to see more gymnastic fights with their saber swords.
I want to see him try to get his babysitter to, like, make out with him a little bit.
But I want you to find the most stilted, awkward actor of all time to show up in this movie, and hopefully only this movie for the rest of time. But, oh my God.
He's only going to be in the one.
Also, if it's possible, if we could, a tall frogman. Like, he doesn't need to be funny. He doesn't need to be tolerable.
He does need to be racist.
If you could just make him, like, not overtly, but just racist enough to make everyone really uncomfortable.
Like, you're mad, but you don't know why. We should find, so there's a role in it. It's a female, it's a lady role, and we want her to be, like, really bad at it. We want her to look like a bad actor. But we want to make sure...
But also make her look like a kabuki.
Yep, and we definitely need someone who will win an Oscar and definitely went to Harvard to play this poorly.
We want, basically, a critically acclaimed actress who will have to wear this as a yoke around her neck forever.
Yeah. We are all from fucking Boston, where the most Hollywood productions fucking start, kid.
We're all from Boston, where Woodstock took place.
To be fair, she was also in Garden State, so that's another
true.
yoke.
Oh boy,
God.
I don't ever need to see that movie ever again.
No, she was the manic pixie dream girl that made us realize this is kind of bullshit.
One of my all-time favorite, like, little just goofy YouTube memes I've ever seen. I wish that I could find it again. It had some title that made it impossible to search, but basically someone took that scene in Garden State where, like, Natalie Portman just, like, gives Shia LaBeouf the... Wait, was it Shia LaBeouf?
No, he's not even in the film.
Gave it,
Zach Braff.
I got my irritating white hipsters confused.
Zach Braff is at least harmless. It's
Yeah, she gives the headphones to Zach Braff and it's just like, you got to hear this song; it'll change your life.
I remember
and
this.
Then he puts the headphones on, and it's like, I forget which specific song,
but it's
the
Shins. It's the Shins. It's something slang.
But yeah, new slang. But like in the meme, instead of that, I forget the name of the song, but it's one of Can's more psychotic songs. Which
like
is like Damos's,
or something, or
it's just like you gotta hear this song, it'll change your life, and the headphones go on, and you just hear like Damo Suzuki going,
See, in my head, I was envisioning it like that whole thing goes on, but it's that one song from the Doom soundtrack. That
ooh, that's a good one. That's a life-changing one.
Yeah, and that one, I'm like, well, that actually did kind of change my life.
Yeah, that will change your life.
Yeah.
So, further attempts at locations are trying incredibly hard to keep us on track.
Sorry, you're doing the Lord's work.
No, don't apologize. This is great.
Listen to this song; it'll change your life. Back, it will come back to you.
Okay, actually, tangent. This is great. So, I have some friends that they used to do like a 4th of July party every year, and they were in the Highlands in Lowell, like on the hill, looking down. And so, like on the 4th of July in Lowell, you would have like 2 towns worth of fireworks, and also they would always have someone playing outside at Boarding House Park. And this place just happened to be like on top of a hill at a turn,
playing music, I assume, not just like playing in Boarding House Park.
Right, like a band, and generally something.
It wasn't just like a crowd of people gathered to see, like, let's watch some disc golf.
Right. No, it was usually like something boomers would give a shit about, and this
like disc golf.
Yeah. So this one year, it was Michael McDonald was playing.
Ooh.
But like the Doppler effect of how like the sound carried over with the wind.
Oh,
we
man.
all were like playing Name That Tune, but it was always changing keys because the wind was hitting in a different way. And it ended up like we were able to. There is nothing like complete silence, and then everyone just stops and turns their head. It's like when a Jack Russell Terrier, like one ear goes up because it thinks it hears something. We would all do that, and then we would be like, oh, it's more what a fool believes. That's what it is. And that was our whole day.
Oh, fantastic. That must have been amazing.
It was so fun.
Trying to pick up... Yeah, sorry. Please continue. We're done.
So further attempts in other locations across... Oh my God, Michael McDonald is here. The actual Michael McDonald.
You finally made it.
Shut up. How y'all doing?
Michael McDonald just told me to shut up.
No, said I showed up. I would never be rude to you.
I'm gonna be there. Yeah, he said he'll be there.
Imagine how much would that derail your day if Michael McDonald just appeared, just told you to shut up, and then just went away.
I would cry. That would fucking wreck the whole rest of the day. If I was just like walking on my way to the job I used to have in the before times, and then suddenly out of nowhere it was just like, go fuck yourself, motherfucker, you piece of shit. Your mom doesn't like you, goodbye. Be like, what the?
That's a lot more than just shut up.
Michael McDonald cuts deep.
He does. Like,
yeah,
all right.
He's
oh,
merciless.
Look, it's famous 70s blue-eyed soul singer-songwriter Michael McDonald. I'm so happy to meet you. Oh, go fuck yourself. You suck. I never liked you. Your mom never liked you. I'm like, I'm sorry. Okay.
You're wasting your life in your current job.
I'll give your new girlfriend a demo of the band you were in high school.
They're much more successful now, and you said you'd rather go to college and pursue a literature degree.
You're never gonna make any money, and you, when you were in the band, made it worse.
And now you're assistant manager in the produce department at Whole Foods.
Oh, that cut a little close to you, didn't it? Oh, that got dark for Pat and no one else.
No, it's. I'm jealous of you because I'm on month 9 of unemployment now. So.
Oh no, I've been unemployed for quite some time. No, I haven't worked at Whole Foods in a while. No, I'm right there with you.
Right. Further attempts in other locations across upstate New York proved fruitless, as many towns had enacted new laws after the first Woodstock that put impossible hurdles in the path of planning another event of that level. Ultimately, the event was scaled down to 2 one-off concerts instead of the multi-acre festival the original was. One was dubbed Woodstock 79, took place at Madison Square Garden on August 24th and 25th, and the other, Woodstock Reunion 1979, was a larger-scale event at the Par Meadows Racetrack in Brookhaven.
Ooh, the racetrack.
Yep, horses. You can listen to the hippies and go see the ponies.
That sounds like a great combination because I'm sure the hippies don't care how the ponies are treated at all.
Well, yeah, they tried to eat Yasgur's cows.
Wait, they did?
No.
Ow. That's part of the bit.
That was a dumb bit I had. I want to race hippies.
Yeah, that I'd watch that. I'd watch hippies race.
If it was the 60s ones, they're all lean, and probably the only thing keeping them alive is like high protein, low carb.
Oh, absolutely,
I'd be nervous about that, but you get into the later iterations of Woodstock, like I'd race that piece of shit.
Yeah, Brookhaven only allowed Woodstock Reunion 1979 to take place under the condition that ticket sales be capped at 25,000 and no liquor and walk-up sales take place on the premises. 25,000 turned out to be an overestimation, however, as only around 15,000 people attended this.
Yeah, because you told them to not sell liquor.
Attempts were made to get as many of the original Woodstock alumni as the bill as they could, but the majority of the artists from the first had either died, broken up, or were just flat out uninterested. Thus, the 1979 Woodstock was a bill headlined by the comparatively unimpressive lineup of John Sebastian, Canned Heat, Paul Butterfield, Rick Danko without the band, Stephen Stills without Crosby, Nash, or Young,
the weakest link.
And Country Joe McDonald, Minus the Fish.
I literally only know Stephen Stills out of that whole group. What the fuck?
The only one I knew that's worth respecting by himself is Paul Butterfield, so I don't know what the point of like Danko out of everyone in the band, you're going Danko? That's what you're doing? He's just weird voice guy.
What do you mean? You guys don't remember Canned Heat?
I'm down to the country.
Oh, fuck off!
Oh man, that is them.
It is a vocal choice that is so iconic because it's so baffling and fucking irritating.
You didn't want to go to Woodstock 79 and hear those dulcet tones in your ears?
If they sang it like normal and didn't do that weird like Dudley Do-Right falsetto, then I'd be okay with it, but like what else? I don't know. That's a single where I like hear that and I'm like, what the fuck else could this band possibly have to offer if this is the first and biggest thing they're going to show me?
Coverage of the 79 Woodstocks noted that there was a sort of writing on the wall mentality that values and cultural interests had changed, and that the new generation seemed uninterested in the themes of peace, love, and togetherness that the original had supposedly exhorted.
Yeah.
As the 1970s gave way to the me-decade 80s.
Yeah, the 70s were fucking rough time in America too, and like,
right.
Yeah, so those like idealistic feelings were definitely made a lot more cynical towards the end, and probably, yeah, they just couldn't identify with that.
Yeah, because that was when they started to do like the Nixon started to do that slow boil towards like more conservative, like leaning more into a fascist type of thing. Where
too, heading into like the Reagan administration, and like the punk movement was like happening too.
Yeah.
Like it was just that's where kids were at. It was all about punk. Like who was listening to the hippie music except for like aging hippies at that point?
It's like when like I don't know, the 2020 version of hippies tries to tell the 2020 version of my old like ass that grew up in like punk and hardcore just being like, well, we should all get along. I'm like, I want to punch, though. And what's funny is, like, I've never been in a fight, and I know that I'm physically wimpy, but, like, the hippie version of it, I cannot relate to. Like,
You want that option.
I want the option of punching.
Yeah.
Or it's not even that I want the option of punching. I don't want someone to tell me that it's not justified. And I feel like I would have felt the same way during a 1979 Woodstock where they're like, oh, we should be buds. Like, no.
Yeah, you don't necessarily want to punch, but you definitely don't want someone telling you not to punch.
I don't want them to tell me it's off the table or that I'm a bad person for needing to do it, because then I'm like, well, you're telling me now that everyone who wants to punch this piece of shit is wrong.
That's your Second Amendment right there.
Yeah. I have a right to bare my weak, limp fists.
Right to bare wrists.
Even if it's peaceably minded, it's still sanctimonious.
I break my weak hand and wrist. My tiny, tiny wrists that can definitely fit like a child's Dora the Explorer watch around them. And I bear those for everybody. You know, it's not just for me. I'm the one it's for peace that I am willing to take up the ineffectual sword of my own body.
Anyway, to close up our talk on 79, UPI reporter Ken Frankling wrote in a retrospective on the festival, "The industry has gone slick and sexy. The songs of protest have been supplanted by the songs of profit. Money replaced mellow." Which actually, in retrospect, sounds very, very sanctimonious.
Yeah, that's a little harsh, I think, and a bit lacking in certain perspectives. That just kind of sounds like anti-disco to me.
Yeah, it feels a little bit accurate with them talking about like, oh, the cultural appetite has moved away from this, but for them to say that the original Woodstock was mellow, like, that bugs me, because there was like, Hendrix was fucking weird and distorted. The Santana set was heavy as shit, and I hate Santana. The Who was never mellow.
And there were hippies falling over each other in fields of mud.
Yeah, they were literally in a pool of mud.
A guy got ran over by a tractor.
While he was sleeping. He was asleep and got ground up by a tractor. That's metal as fuck. That's not mellow.
A man took insulin, for God's sakes.
For fun. He OD'd on it.
He recreational.
Like a fucking legend. Who has OD'd on insulin? Do we have any friends who have? No.
No. I salute you.
Standing ovation, you dead fucking idiot.
He walked so we could run, or reread so we could walk, or something. I don't know.
So no officially sanctioned event took place by the time the festival's 20th anniversary in 1989 came about. Though efforts were made to put a 20th anniversary show into production, the details were never able to be worked out with Warner Brothers, who by this point owned the rights to the Woodstock name and iconography.
Who was going to be in it? Like fucking Fine Young Cannibals and Squeeze? Like, what did you have in 1989?
That sounds about it.
I'm getting to that. On top of this, a majority of towns around the immediate Woodstock area issued preemptive rejections for anyone who approached them to host the festival. But even though there was no official event bearing the Woodstock name taking place, an attempt was still made to capitalize on the original event's success, one that was a pretty fairly naked cash grab, as one would expect for the 1980s.
Oh, yeah. Woodstock 89. Just like Woodstock 69 with a really tinny snare drum.
The event was titled Remember Woodstock, and once again...
If you remember it, you weren't really there, man.
Oh, God. They would.
And once again featured slightly less known alumnus of the original. The lineup featured John Sebastian, Melanie Safka, Johnny and Edgar Winter, Leon Russell, and Roger McGuinn. So not all, like, no names necessarily.
Oh, yeah, we got McGinn.
Wait, so I'm unfamiliar. Who is everyone who's not, like, Winters and...
McGinn's from the Byrds.
The lineup was John Sebastian, who I think was like a folk guy.
All right.
Melanie Safka, who's another folk lady.
Okay.
Johnny and Edgar Winter. Leon Russell.
Okay, Leon Russell, I know.
Yeah. And Roger McGuinn.
So I only know Leon Russell and Winter, so...
Yeah. Roger McGuinn was in the Byrds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the guys who used to be in the Byrds and then other shit they did, it's like, I can't even narrow it down. There's so... They're like the cap and jazz of, like, 60s shit.
Yeah. The inclusion of these performances, however, was where the similarities ended. Where the original Woodstock took place on the Yasgur farm, Remember Woodstock set up shop at the Imperial Resort Hotel in Swan Lake, where one could purchase a 3-day pass to the festival for $75 and also be treated to outdoor tennis courts, golf, a health spa, and Eastern European cuisine. No camping was permitted.
Revolutionary, man.
Okay. So, do you know the distance from the original Woodstock site that is?
I do not, if one of you guys wants to quickly look that up, the distance between Swan Lake and... Actually, I'll just do that right now.
Yeah, because I'm looking up inflation, what $75 adds up to.
Silence ad later.
So that is in 2020 dollars. That $75 is.
Not that far. It looks like from Swan Lake to Bethel is 6.67 miles.
That's not bad. The price is that's $157 in 2020 money. So
that's about the price of Coachella tickets, really.
Yeah, but that's not a Coachella lineup at all, even for the time.
No, it is not.
No,
not at all. This vie for nostalgia dollars was lost on original Woodstock attendees, and the event ended up folding in a most peculiar way. On the commemorative weekend of the event, a folk singer named Rich Pell had gotten permission from the new owners of the former Yasgur farm to put on a small concert, completely separate from Remember Woodstock. What was originally intended to be a solo performance that Pell had handled all the logistics for gained incredible word of mouth, and local acts were slowly added onto the bill, bringing their own PA systems and lighting rigs, and stage setups, refreshments, and the formerly solo concert ended up being extended into the entire weekend.
They accidentally did the fucking original Woodstock to themselves.
Woodstock 89, as it was later dubbed and often forgotten as the Forgotten Woodstock, ended up drastically overshadowing Remember Woodstock, really without even trying. In spite of there being no promotion beyond word of mouth, the event attracted nearly 200,000 people by the end of the weekend, maintaining an atmosphere more in line with a massive campsite tailgate as opposed to the sprawling mess of a rock festival the original was. It even attracted a couple of Woodstock alumnus of its own, with acts like Savoy Brown and Melanie Sofka performing.
Hey. So she double-dipped on that.
Oh, yeah. There's actually a funny story. After Sofka's performance, which basically amounted to performing for the staff, she took her check and then immediately left to go to Woodstock 89.
So she played the set that you deal with as a metal band.
Basically.
And then she was able to leave and play, a coffee shop set where some people are there.
For people. Yeah. For considerably more people.
So, just for the sake of context... The big acts at the original Woodstock, let's think about that. Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Janis Joplin,
Santana, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Crosby, Stills, Nash.
Which ones of these, though, are these ones that were big leading up to the festival, or are these ones that we're looking at, in hindsight?
I'm just saying, when you think back to Woodstock *69, and who performed, these are the acts that you associate with it, and obviously Hendrix died, Joplin died, I feel like another one of them died too. Crosby, Stills, and Nash kind of were fizzled out by the early '80s, and the Who. Were basically
the Who probably just straight up said the Who probably just straight up said no.
Yeah, I could see Pete Townsend just being like, "Oh no, I don't think so."
Although I think between the two, probably Keith Moon probably died, and I don't know if they were trying to do their post, because it was post and Twistle and post Moon at that point. I would think.
And Twistle wasn't until 2001.
It took him that long? Wow.
Yeah, no,
that was an insensitive way of phrasing that.
No, him and George Harrison died around the same time. I think Entwistle might have even been more recent than that. Come to think of it. All right, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, if the heirs to the Entwistle estate want to come on the podcast and review Love Beach with us, we can suss this out there.
Absolutely, and if you're tired of playing bass for the Who, the times that they tour, I could absolutely jump in on that. I hate bass, but what's two fewer strings? I can do it.
We can play a rousing game of When Did Your Son Die?
We should get Neil Peart in on this.
Anyway, Remember Woodstock, meanwhile, had its thunder completely stolen by Woodstock 89. The event had already been struggling to attract ticket buyers and ultimately resorted to handing out free tickets to attendees of Woodstock 89 just to drum up business for the hotel.
You don't even do that at, like, when you're playing a shitty local show at a bar. They're still, like, very hesitant to be like, you know what, no cover anymore. The fact that hey, Woodstock...
Gotta keep the Woodstock name going, man. Like, we can't give this up to the power of the 60s. We got to spend money to make money. Listen, we did this. We do this, and then we get ourselves guaranteed for Woodstock 92, starring Snow
92?
And Boyz II Men and Ugly Kid Joe and
dude, wait, if you had an outdoor festival with Boyz II Men, I would absolutely like, okay, who else is playing? Because I'm definitely going for Boyz II Men.
Right?
But, like, what are the prices? Like, I would, especially 92, because they would probably play Motown Philly, where I'm like, oh, they're going up tempo. Like, I'm down. Like, what I'm saying is your joke doesn't work because it's too good, the lineup.
92, incidentally, would be like the 23rd anniversary of Woodstock.
Perfect time.
Perfect.
It's a good round number.
It's a prime number, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, news sources like the New York Times and Daily News, who had previously castigated the original Woodstock, would herald the event as an unlikely triumph of community over commercialism. This narrative would be pretty much turned on its head with the next two events to bear the Woodstock name, however.
Oh, baby. We're into the go-go 90s now.
Yep.
Oh, these are the ones I remember seeing on the news.
First came
That's how I do
the year was 1994.
Okay, 1994, we're into in utero territory, and Homeboy's probably
Okay.
not there, depending on what time of the year, so...
Yeah, that's not quite as good a montage
new
song.
sound was overcoming the landscape from the Pacific Northwest called grunge.
Spoonman, I'm together with you there, right there. Yarling was sweeping the nation.
Oh, yeah.
And all people wanted to do was have some fun. I think that song came much later.
No, that was
like
93.
Okay.
Yeah.
First came 1994. Perhaps inspired by the spontaneously occurring 89 event, the promoters behind the Woodstock brand regrouped to plan a 25th anniversary show, locking down the 840-acre Winston Farm in Saugerties, New York. Saugerties was one of the original options to have turned down the first Woodstock before they ultimately settled on the Yozgar Farm.
I think it's fun that every one of these is picking a runner-up. Like, none of them are at the same place, and they're always like, I don't know, who said no last time? Let's try them.
And the one place where they said okay the first time ends up being, like, the absolute worst, too. The venue was closed in 1993, and the lineup was announced the same year. It was slated to be a 2-day event, but there were so many acts interested in playing that a third was added for those who arrived to the farm early to camp. It featured a slew of...
guys, we gotta play Woodstock, man! Like,
Can you hippies please just wait a little while? You can go one day without grooving on insulin.
And so, the pre-show Thursday was invented.
I had, like, notes about, like, a bunch of different artists that were, like, part of the bill, but honestly, like, for what I said earlier in our little Facebook chat about how the 94 one and the 99 one are really just big who's of where did they go? 90s edition. You want me to just read off? Like,
Yeah.
I have the Wikipedia article right here.
I remember watching I remember watching a little bit of it on TV, the one in 94. I was like 10. There was like a Metallica performance, maybe. I know they were there.
Was that the Nine Inch Nails, like, crazy muddy set?
Yeah, Nine Inch Nails
yes.
did a pretty killer set. That one. That was like one of the highlights, actually.
And I get Green Day confused because I was living in this area, like around Boston that year, and I know that year I think was the year that they also had like Muddy Riots at the Hat Shell when they played there. So I'm like, I don't know if they were Muddy Riots both times or if like which one's which.
I think Green Day was definitely there, yeah, because that would have been around when Dookie came out, and they were big.
Oh, we'll talk about it.
I don't care no more.
Yeah, should I do that? Should I just go over the days and like just say like the whole lineup?
Yeah.
Okay. First night, Friday, August 12th. This was the date that was added to give people like a little extra day. Friday, August 12th. At the North Stage, Roguish Armament with Wreck. You remember them.
Total what?
Master of None. Three. There's a band called Three, apparently.
Okay.
I do actually kind of know about them. I have a friend who's like weirdly into shitty acoustic prog.
Oh,
and I believe Three is that.
Ugh.
Oh boy!
Yeah, it's
oh boy!
not great.
Let's see. After Three, a band called Futu Futu, ABBA Rage, Lunch Meat, the Paul Luke Band, Peace Bomb, The Goats, and Huffamoose.
These are
now
all going to be jam bands, aren't
Yeah.
But now I'm reaching the point where we're getting to more recognizable names. Orleans, they're the band that did that song "Still the One."
they?
Blues Traveler, 90s.
Woo!
Jackal with a Y.
Oh, Jackal.
That's
oh,
like
man.
a glam band, right? Like that's like a glam
Yeah,
metal.
they're a
band.
glam
they were-
band that has like a chainsaw.
Yeah, their lead singer plays a chainsaw.
What else we got?
I'm glad that happened also in new metal. That's
Yeah,
fucking
because
wild.
that was there's actually a funny stage regarding There's actually a funny story regarding Jackal right here. On the notable events section of day one, Jackal took the stage early on Friday. Lead singer Jesse James Dupree took the stage with a bottle of whiskey and poured alcohol onto the crowd. He then started smoking marijuana, and on a close-up, he shotgunned the joint into the camera with copious amounts of smoke filling the screens and the stage, at which point the crowd cheered. The lead singer then lit a stool on fire on stage and cut it up with a chainsaw. He also pulled out a rifle and started firing into the air, but cut his hand, which started bleeding. And as he wiped his forehead, a streak of blood was left on his head. At this point, security dragged him off the stage.
Oh, man, that's so metal, man.
Honestly, that's almost a like mid-90s black metal set. That's crazy.
Yeah, a little bit, with less goat heads.
Yeah, but it's like so close to Mayhem.
Let's see. After Jackal, we got Delamitri.
They did
Roll
that
to
roll.
Me.
Yeah, Roll to Me.
Live.
Oh, God.
Oh, I have. This is weird. I have a pretty good impression of it. I love you like you never do so the other day. That's my live
Is that
impression.
you? Wow, you actually showed up.
Yeah. All over
There
me,
it is.
down on my near the bell.
From all talking, no heads, everyone. It's Ed Kwolczyk.
Oh,
very
and
good.
there he goes.
The angel opens her eyes.
Nope, he's still here. Oh, and here comes Michael McDonald to play with him.
Pale blue colored eyes.
Oh, let's hope we never get that duet, Michael McDonald and Ed Kowalczyk.
I mean, I got multi-track
I'm here for the
software,
Christmas
so.
special.
Silent night, holy night.
It's like Bing Crosby and David Bowie, but with Ed Kwolczyk.
But
and
both
Michael
of them are
McDonald.
weird.
Silent night, peace on earth.
It's been a while. Yeah, we'll just add him.
Aaron Lewis just shows up in a cowboy hat and like he just pulls up in his
Demands the audience, demanding the audience speak English.
This one's for the racist troops, anyway.
You ever just sit in
after
your truck?
And I just want to clarify, it's not that all troops are racist, it's that he is singing specifically to the troops that are racist. He doesn't care about the regular ones.
Non-racists, leave the room. This one's for the rest of y'all.
You ever just sit in your truck and think of the two genders?
Listen here, you liberal libtard snowflakes. My wife left me.
One of my favorite things is that he got mad. He was playing a show that was just him doing acoustic guitar shit, and he got mad that people were talking and stopped after like 2 songs. And I was like, wow, you're so out of touch with your roots or
that's
where
the
stuff
thing.
happens. Like,
That's the thing. It wasn't just like he was angry that people were talking. He was angry that there were people talking in Spanish.
oh, see, I thought it was just he was mad that people were talking. So he's mad it was in Spanish?
They were saying things about him in Spanish that he couldn't understand. So it's like, you're talking about me, bro. What do you got? What do you got?
Oh.
Completely dropping the whole country boy aesthetic, and out comes the Boston.
Out comes the Springfield Mass.
Or
Yeah.
Springfield in his case.
I get contentious about that stuff. Like with Godsmack, they love to say, like Sully from Godsmack loves to say he's from Lawrence, but I've got it on pretty good authority from multiple people that he's from Haverhill. Like, he was just born in Lawrence because Lawrence General is there. Like, by the same standards, like, I'm from Lawrence, and I'm definitely not. but he likes to say that to try to give himself street cred, and I'm always just like, Sully's fucking 5'2" and he's from fucking Haverhill. Don't act like you're tough.
I mean, what kind of street cred is that anyway? Like, using, like, that you're from Lawrence as a brag.
It literally only works in the Merrimack Valley. So once you get, like, nationwide, then people are like, what the fuck is Lawrence? Like, unless you live in Andover, North Andover, Lawrence, Billerica, like, unless you live in that area, Lawrence doesn't mean shit to you. So, like, Sully, shut up.
Anyway, after live, we got James, King's X, Sheryl Crow, Collective Soul.
Wait, James is James the Bed on Fire one?
Yeah.
Oh, that song rules.
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, nice
Anyway,
little 90s nugget.
James, King's X, Sheryl Crow, Collective Soul, Candlebox, and headlining the night, Violent Femmes.
Okay,
Wow,
I'm into
they're
that.
Headlining, interesting.
I'm into them headlining.
On the side, there was also a rave tent with Aphex Twin,
Yes!
Light, DJ Spooky, Frankie Bones, Little Louie Vega, The Orb, Orbital, and a bunch of other DJs no one's ever heard of.
I'm not really into EDM, but that tent is so much better than the other thing.
Oh yeah, you gotta go at least for Aphex Twin.
Yeah, well, and the rest of it is like, you know what, I'll stick around. This is that one slaps.
Aphex Twin, incidentally, his performance was cut short when promoters disconnected him mid-show for signing a fake name on a contract, which would forfeit Polygram's rights to his performance.
Oh, no.
He was Banksy before it was cool.
Oh, Richard James. That brings us to day 2, Saturday, August 13th. At the North Stage, some slightly bigger names. Joe Cocker, Blind Melon, Cypress Hill, Rollins Band, Melissa Etheridge, Crosby, Stills and Nash with John Sebastian, Nine Inch Nails, Metallica, and Aerosmith.
Nice.
On the South Stage, we have slightly lesser-known names. We have Nenad Bach. I don't know who the hell that is.
Nope.
The Cranberries, know who that is.
R.I.P.
Adelmo Ford.
Adele?
No, not Adele.
She wasn't born yet.
See. Oh, I read that wrong. Adelmo Fornaciari, known more commonly by his stage name of Zucchero.
Good old Zuki.
Yeah.
This all just sounds like an anime character.
Yes. Yuso Endure, heard of him, don't know what he sounds like. The Band, featuring Hot Tuna, Bruce Hornsby, Roger McGuinn, Rob Wasserman, and Bob Weir.
Oh, they got Hornsby.
Primus with Jerry Cantrell.
Ah.
Salt and Peppa, and someone named Vinx as MC.
No.
Yeah, don't know who that is. And that brings us to day 3, Sunday, August 14th, at the North Stage. Country Joe McDonald.
At
the
last.
one guy who's been at pretty much every single Woodstock, because he's got a lot going on in his life.
He lives nearby, I guess.
Yeah. Sisters of Glory, featuring Selma Houston, Cece Peniston, Phoebe Snow, Mavis Staples, and Lois Walden.
Is her name really Peniston?
That's how it's spelled. If it's pronounced Peniston or something, then I'm very sorry.
No,
Peniston.
it is Peniston for forever. There's no other way to say it.
Penis Town.
Arrested Development, the Allman Brothers Band, Traffic, Spin Doctors.
There we go.
We've also got Porno for Pyros, Bob Dylan, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Peter Gabriel.
Wow. Peter Gabriel showed up. Interesting.
Yep. On
Why?
the South State...
I don't know.
No, I don't know how to answer. I don't know how to answer that.
Derek, why do you want to ask why I was on the... Why do you need to know why I was at Woodstock 94? Just don't worry about it.
Is that your Peter Gabriel?
Yes.
Okay.
He's
Jesus.
a kindly English grandfather.
On the South Stage, meanwhile, John Sebastian and the J Band.
Okay.
Country Joe McDonald again.
Oh, they gave him 2 sets.
Apparently.
This Woodstock is 90% Country Joe McDonald.
Yes. Gil Scott Heron. An organization called WOMAD. WOMAD is an international arts festival. The central aim of WOMAD is to celebrate the world's various forms of music, arts, and dance. So I would have to imagine it's like world music sort of spectacle or something. Green Day. Paul Rogers Blues and Rock Review with Slash, Neil Sean, Andy Fraser, and Jason Bonham.
I want to see what it's like when all those guys hang out. I have no interest in listening to their music, but that's such a weird combo of fucked up people.
Yeah. The Neville Brothers, Santana with Eric Gales, and Jimmy Cliff's All-Star Reggae Jam featuring Rita Marley, Ika Mouse, and Shabba Ranks.
If your Santana with doesn't end with Rob Thomas, then I don't fucking care.
Anyway, that's our Woodstock 94 lineup. The event was dogged with negative press coverage from the start, both locally and internationally. The immediate communities around Saugerties expressed sentiments similar to the worries that Bethel had, that local highways and roads wouldn't be equipped to handle the traffic of the 200,000 expected attendees. Woodstock purists, meanwhile, argued that the harder-edged new acts did not suit the peace-minded legacy of the original, and especially neither the corporate sponsorship, of which there was plenty at Woodstock 94, with corporations as big as Pepsi, Apple, and Häagen-Dazs listed as official sponsors, with MTV perpetually on hand to cover the proceedings. Häagen-Dazs is an interesting outlier.
It's fun because Häagen-Dazs is a fake word for an American company that's trying to sound foreign and expensive.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. So, I mean, this lineup just sounds like a Lollapalooza, basically, which, I mean, they captured the sort of zeitgeist of the era a lot better than Woodstock
something
did.
like that. Others, meanwhile, were turned off by the new price point of $135 for a 3-day ticket, which kind of undercut the grassroots vibes of the original.
What was the...
But, I mean, you know, it's kind of a jump from, like, $135 to sneaking the fuck in.
Is this 1994?
Yeah, $1994.
I'm curious what $135 is.
Okay.
So I'm just looking it up
while you're
right now.
looking that up, I'm going to keep talking. In spite of the increased ticket price, Woodstock 94 ran into similar logistical problems that the first one did surrounding audience size. As mentioned, 200,000 attendees were anticipated, 164,000 tickets were sold, but in grand total, the attendance record of Woodstock 94 was estimated around 550,000 people. Unlike the 69 festival, there was an attempt made to properly secure the perimeter of the performance space, but the chain-link fences that had been erected made little difference to the throngs of hungry concertgoers, who very easily just traversed them and made monitoring the sheer volume of people impossible for maintaining a peaceful atmosphere.
And there was not a cow in sight for them to munch on, so that was a real problem.
And those people who paid $237 worth. Like,
damn.
At the time, it was... That 135 is 237. I'm like,
that's way more than a Coachella.
It's insane for that.
In spite of these setbacks, Woodstock 94 proved to be similarly relaxed as the original. No violence or rioting took place, even though there were hobbled security. There were 2 deaths. None of them were from insulin overdose or being run over by a tractor, though. Both were from pre-existing conditions. One arrived with a ruptured spleen, and that I guess just got worse. And another passed due to complications from diabetes.
Hey man, are you okay? Like, no man, I don't care. I want to see Peter Gabriel, man. I gotta see him at the festival.
I need to see Country Joe and then go a couple feet across the way to see Country Joe again.
No, I don't know, man. I think we got to take you to the hospital. You're like, your spleen okay?
That's awful specific.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just like, I'm not feeling that spleeny today, so like, don't worry about me.
Showed up with a ruptured spleen. Like, man, that's commitment.
My spleen is totally bumming today. Just got a real bumming spleen, man. It was even derailed multiple times nearly by inclement weather like the original had. In Woodstock 94's case, however, the rainstorms would earn them particular notoriety, or rather the mud it generated would, as multiple incidents occurred around the enormous puddles of mud that the weather generated. And just to stop you right there, Pat, no, I'm not talking about Wes Scantlin.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's the wrong puddle of mud.
Around yet.
I need it.
Yeah.
During Primus's set, the band was pelted with the stuff appropriately enough during a performance of their hit song, My Name is Mud.
Of course.
As of late 2014, Les Claypool has claimed that he still finds mud caked in his bass cabinet years later.
Sure you do, Les.
9 Inch Nails, meanwhile, who we were just talking about, had the largest crowd density of any performer at the event. They performed their set entirely covered in mud, having wrestled each other in a big puddle just before going on stage.
And they were a big hit because they were the horniest thing. And this was when we only knew them sounding as mostly like Depeche Mode.
Actually, no, this was when Downward Spiral came out in 94.
Oh, wait, 94? Yeah, 94.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah, so there was more of that and like Wish EP and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that was a big
or
year for
Broken
them.
EP rather.
Yeah.
The biggest edit point. The biggest mud-related incident by far, however, occurred during Green Day's performance on the third day. After so much stormy weather had basically turned the terrain into a swamp, the pop-punk group capped it all off by provoking an enormous mud fight between the band and the audience during a performance of their song Paper Lanterns. At one point, a security guard mistook bassist Mike Dirnt for a fan and tackled him on stage, knocking out one of his teeth in the process and necessitating emergency dental surgery.
Well, whatever. He plays bass. Who gives a shit?
In spite of all that occurred, Woodstock 94 was considered a successful endeavor compared to what was about to come next. But there was a general sense in the air immediately afterwards that despite the good times that were had, it was a pretty far cry from the broad idealism of the original. There was a New York Times article on the festival that came out not long after. One of the attendees was said to remark, "I learned the wrong lesson at Woodstock. I learned that I love my meaningless little life and all my materialistic things. I love my car with air conditioning, my bed, and my running water."
And that narrator went on to write Fight Club.
Yes, few people know that Chuck Palahniuk was in the audience that day.
It's just that narration of, like, I love my meaningless little whatever. I'm like, that is, I am Jack's IKEA whatever.
Yeah, that's a lot of Chuck's writing, because that was kind of what Lullaby was like, too.
Yeah, that was kind of how Invisible Monsters was. We've all been there, and also Survivor.
And now we're getting to, like, the real meat of the episode right here.
2 hours in. Awesome.
More than an hour in. Nearly an hour and a half in at this point.
Sorry.
5 years would pass before the Woodstock organizers would begin again, making preparations for a 30th anniversary show in 1999. There was an impetus this time around to ensure that the unruly atmosphere of 94 wouldn't come about. No concert goers getting past fencing, no snuck-in beer past security, and no mud. For God's sake, no mud! As in previous years, the festival was held in New York, this time in the upstate city of Rome, roughly 100 miles away from the original 69 event. But where the previous events took place on farmland, the 99 event was hosted by Griffiths Air Force Base, a Superfund site that had been closed as a military site and had been subsequently converted into a business and technology park. By the way, Superfund sites, in case you don't know, are sites that previously had, such terrible, radiation and, contaminated water and soil.
It's like when
basically made it unlivable.
Like when they cap a landfill and then build something on top, right?
Yeah, basically. Something like that. Greater effort was taken to prevent gate crashing as well. In contrast to the flimsy chain link fence of 94 and the nothing of 1969, promoters erected a 12-foot plywood and steel fence around the festival, as well as hiring 500 New York State troopers to provide security for the nearly 400,000 attendees.
Build the wall! Build the wall!
And in an even greater contrast to the 69 event, 99 was conceived blatantly as a commercial venture with even more corporate sponsors than 94, as well as the presence of vendor malls, ATMs, and email stations. Because this was the 90s, emails were everywhere.
Oh, an ATM is useful as fuck at a festival, but the rest of it I'm not into.
It's W2K, man. We're getting ready for the new millennium, but it's still about peace and love in 1969, man.
The final price tag for a ticket? $150, which translates to about $290 in 2019 dollars. So damn.
That is more than halfway
a lot of money to see
the next PlayStation. That's fucking wild.
That's a lot of money to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers in just socks.
Would you guys like to hear the sterling lineups of this festival?
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Okay. For Thursday's pre-show, July 22nd, 1999, at the West Stage, Frostbit Blue, KJ James, Little Big Jam, Gridley Page, Joliba, Red Herring, Rattlebasket, In Bloom, Flip with 2 P's, Third Base, that I'm familiar with.
Third Strike?
Vertical Horizon.
Oh, they had that incel anthem. That Everything You Want is like such a fucking incel song. It's crazy.
It is, isn't it? Strange Folk, G-Love and Special Sauce.
Of course.
The String Cheese Incident.
Oh, fuck them too!
These are okay. That confirms that these are all fucking jam bands.
There's a lot of them,
last group.
Bernie Worrell and the Woo Warriors.
Yep.
And George Clinton and the P-Funk All-Stars.
See, that I can deal with. That I'm into.
They deserve
Meanwhile, at the AMP3 Emerging Artist stage, Immoral
MP3.
Fibers, Simi, Chris Glenn, Gary Durden and the Clay Pimps. That's what it says.
A pimp.
P-I-N-P-S, Pimps. And Johnny Rushmore.
Gary Durden changed my life, and honestly, I probably would have killed myself if I hadn't heard the music of Gary Durden and the Pimps. That was sarcastic.
On July 23rd, 1999, Friday, on the West Stage, we have Spitfire, Oleander, The Umbilical Brothers. Oh boy, the band that you love so much, Mo, period.
This is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. I hadn't heard it until today, and it was goddamn terrible. Everything started with some sample and then some scratching, and then it just went right into some bullshit fish sounding bullshit, and I'm just still mad.
Man, Oleander is like that's an also ran post-grunge band that I haven't heard since at least 1999.
Straight up haven't thought of that word since the last time I thought of that band, which was probably this time.
Reserve your judgment, though, because after Mo, we got Lit.
They are fun when you're drunk, though. Mo is not.
Buck Cherry.
That is
The Roots. The Roots. Presumably pre-Jimmy Fallon, when they still had some artistic integrity of sorts.
This was even pre, like, The Reason or whatever the fuck that one. Not The Reason. What's the hell?
Phrenology.
It was pre them being on the radio. I know that.
George Clinton and the P-Funk All-Stars again, and capping things off, our good friends, Insane Clown Posse.
Magnificent.
Honestly, like,
Big Chef's Kiss.
looking at a lot of the rest of the lineup, not the worst thing that could have been on it.
ICP played at Woodstock 99. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that seems way too appropriate. And that's just the West Stage of that one day. Over on the East Stage, we have what looks to be a really much better lineup for the most part. James Brown.
Not as good as ICP.
G-Love and Special Sauce again.
Country Jim McDonald. Or Joe McDonald. Or Country whatever fucking name is.
Jamiroquai.
Hey.
Live.
I love you.
We were at the Dolphins Cry at that point, so...
yeah, they did play that.
Sheryl Crow, DMX, The Offspring, Bush, and Korn.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the emerging artist stage, we have these well-emerged artists as FON, Linda Rutherford, and Celtic Fire, who sounds like the kind of band that should be playing the
Irish Festival in Stoughton or something?
Yes, the Irish Festival in Stoughton. Sugar Daddy, Sticky Pistol, gross. Bijou Phillips.
They're kind of a big deal.
Mike Errico, King Konga, Ben Lee. He kind of went on to do things.
I know him from doing a thing with Ben Folds and also from being drunk on a plane and getting arrested, and that's the two things I know.
Beth Hart Band.
My mom liked her.
Liars Incorporated. Chris Perez Band. Sherry Jackson. Chris McDermott. And Moby.
Who?
What are you doing there, Moby? Moby, what are you doing there?
I'm probably creeping on Lana Del Rey when she's 16. Anyway.
That brings us to the third day, July 24th, 1999, Saturday. On the West Stage, we have Spitfire. Guster, so we're right back into hippie territory.
Oh boy, yeah, they're local boys.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna actually go out on a limb and I'll kind of expose myself a little bit here. Guster has an album called Lost and Gone Forever that is not a jam band album, and it's actually like every song is depressing as fuck, but it's like really good pop. So it's
what year did that come out? Because
that that might be right around this time or after.
Yeah, because Gina showed me a record that came out around like 99 or they're very well produced. I mean they're a bit too kind of saccharine for
but I do actually remember liking a Guster song that came out around like 2003 that was really nice and catchy. Wasn't like jam band hippie-y.
Yeah.
No, it's like good like well crafted stuff and like enjoying. It's not wasting your time.
I think they got the jam band thing like early, but it's like Lost and Gone Forever has like Fa Fa and like
that's the one I
that's the one.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
The rest of that album's a really solid, like definitely overproduced, but it's a good like guitar driven pop album.
I don't mind overproduced. I'm into that shit. But all right, fourth day.
Sorry, I had to defend Guster for a second because I don't have enough hills to die on.
So after Guster, we got Bruce Hornsby,
Okay, I like him too, though.
Everclear,
Sure.
Fuck that guy.
Ice Cube, Los Lobos, Mickey Hart and Planet Drum,
Okay.
and the Chemical Brothers.
Because it's 1999. Sure.
Yep. On the East stage, we have the Tragically Hip.
It's like I don't know who they are, but I don't fucking care at all.
Honestly, that feels like the most appropriate response to a band like the Tragically Hip.
It's just like, cool, I guess. I don't know. You hear
They
it
were definitely one of those bands that were like, yeah, we're here too.
It's like people who really liked that band. I would just they would be like the person who's trying to be cool at a coffee shop and seem smart. Like I'm like I don't. It just never felt good.
Right.
Anyway,
Well, why not you follow that up with Kid Rock?
Yeah, because it is 1999. Devil Without a Cause.
well, he is the bull god, so.
After that, we got Wyclef Jean and the Refugee All-Stars.
Oh, that's funny considering how he dealt with Haiti and money.
With Haiti, yeah.
Ooh.
He's still singing Gone to November to this day. Counting Crows, Dave Matthews Band, Alanis Morissette, Limp Bizkit, Rage Against the Machine, and Metallica.
I have to defend all of Counting Crows up until whatever happened after this. The first two records were depressing and very good pop.
Yeah, those first two records weren't bad.
Yeah, I like A Long December, I admit.
On the emerging artist stage, we have Young and Fabulous, Gargantua Soul, 3 again, even though they played a main stage on Thursday.
Legitimately, like, I know of 3 because sometime in the late aughts they opened for Coheed and Cambria, so that's how well they're doing.
Sure it wasn't Thrice?
No, actually, that's the part that was confusing to me, is I was like, are you sure you're not talking about Thrice? And my friend was like, no, it was a band called 3, and I'm like, it would be a better show if it was Thrice.
Following that, Serial Joe, American Pearl, Full Devil Jacket.
Oh, God.
Are you guys familiar with that group?
Yeah.
I remember them from 1999 AAF. That's
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Familiar enough. Like, yeah, AAF is what that band is. Fuck
New
that
metal.
shit. Yeah.
Old Pike, Strange Folk,
Get the fuck out.
DDT,
We're back to the fucking noodle bands.
DDT, Two Skinny Jays.
Huh?
Yeah, that's what it says. Two Skinny Jays.
I mean, I'm looking at it,
Joints,
too.
man.
Gigolo Aunts,
Sure.
and Fatboy Slim, who's also there for some reason.
Why is he there this late on the emerging artist stage? Like,
No idea.
is this a band that just happened to have the same name that's unrelated?
Oh, there's an emerging artist on the third day that makes even less sense.
Okay.
No, this is Satboy Flim.
On July 25th, 1999, Sunday, the final day, on the West Stage, Spitfire
Sure.
is back.
Who?
Mike Ness from Social Distortion,
Yeah.
playing solo. Our Lady Peace.
They could have been worse. Just saying.
I liked Our Lady Peace at that point. They did a good record.
I was a big fan of Clumsy as a kid, and I've re-listened to it as an adult a couple of times, and, you know, some of it's still pretty interesting. Like,
Some of it holds up, and Happiness is a Fish is pretty. The one that comes up after
Yeah.
that is like pretty good too.
Oh, guys, here's how you know it's the 90s. Rusted Root.
hate them. I hate that song.
It is better than Mo. You just need to remember that it's better than Mo. Have you listened to Mo?
Probably, and it just didn't
I have
stick
not.
with me.
If you go check out Mo, you're going to wish you were listening to Rusted Root.
What I like most about that Send Me On My Way song is all the weird ghost noises their singer is making.
I do like that, yeah.
Following that, we got Seven Dust.
Seven Dust is the Rusted Root of bullshit new metal. I have heard people try to tell me, like, no, but it's actually good. And I've heard the same thing from Rusted Root fans where they're like, no, it's not a jam band. There's, like, more going on there. And people have said that about Seven Dust. And in trying to immerse myself in 1999 leading up to this, I listened to a bunch of Seven Dust. All of it was somehow more boring than the rest of new metal. Like, I don't... Just severely and very hard, fuck that band.
Yeah, I remember being into them when I was going through that irritating new metal phase that I'm sure we all went through. And, like, in looking back, they really pretty much only had like one song that they just repeated like nonstop.
Yeah, and it was the one where he's just yelling at his girlfriend like he never did anything wrong, right?
Following Seven Dust, we got Collective Soul,
Dad Divorce, the band.
Godsmack, and Megadeth.
Godsmack's from Haverhill, everybody.
Hello, me. Hello, Woodstock. It's me again. I've come to steal your jewels.
I love that.
Heavy jewels, man. I need those for the crystals for my fortunes or something. I don't know.
They're helping my chakras.
Not anymore.
You could do Dave Mustaine versus Crypt Keeper, and everyone would be fucking lost. They would never know which one's talking.
Dude, imagine like dropping acid and then like Megadeth just descends on the stage and like I had to face with the mighty Mustaine Goblin and yeah, it was epic, man. The sword.
Tell it to Reader's Digest.
Hey man, peace sells, but like, you holding?
On the East Stage, Willie Nelson.
Yay.
The Brian Setzer Orchestra.
Boo.
Everlast.
Were they trying to do that 1998 swing revival thing at Woodstock?
That was like Brian Setzer had waited a whole decade and was like, my time to shine has come again!
Yes.
The Cherry Poppin' Daddies were invited, and they were just like, no, we're done.
Squirrel Nut Zippers were like,
what
about us?
We've overstayed our welcome.
Brian Setzer starts like doing his stretches. He's like, I'm going to get the call. I'm going to get the call. It's coming.
I'll go to bat for Squirrel Nut Zippers. They weren't bad.
They were ska adjacent anyway, I think.
Certainly not compared to all the other swing revival bands.
I just love the idea that there is a musician whose attitude is the same as another song. Like, I'm just like, Brian Setzer is sitting there going, put me in, coach. And the genre clashing of that is making, I don't know. I'm happy with it. I don't care if anyone else thinks it's fun.
Following Brian Setzer Orchestra, we got Everlast. He lasted
forever.
Elvis Costello, who I recall made you very angry in the Facebook chat.
I was just like, what the fuck is he doing here? He's way above this. He doesn't need the money. Why is he there? And then on the playlists I was finding, all anyone would put was like Allison and Angels Want to Wear My Red Shoes. And I'm like, so those are both off of his first solo album.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure he would have played him at this, but I'm like, why are those the only two songs at Woodstock 99? Like, the guy has like a dozen records by then and doesn't belong here.
Was he, I forget, was he like releasing a record around that time, or was there like a kind of short, like a small Elvis Costello revival around that time? I'm trying to remember.
It might have been just like tangentially pulled along with the fucking Brian Setzer shit. But in general, I don't remember, like, that was the year that I started getting into Elvis Costello, and I don't remember any of his contemporary shit being a concern for anyone at all.
He was in a weird place in the late 90s. He was saying that, like, U2's Pop was one of, like, the best records of 1996, so who knows what he was thinking.
I mean, it's honestly, I think U2 was a band that was forgivable and was taking chances until 9/11, and then everything they did after 9/11, I'm like, fuck out of here.
That's kind of the consensus we all reached to.
Yeah.
Like, even if it was bad, at least they tried.
Yeah. After Elvis Costello, we got Jewel, Creed featuring Robbie Krieger, which is the one thing I have prepared a clip for since you specifically asked for it.
Wait, so it's Creed featuring, like, the dude from The Doors playing, like, Vox Continental?
No, so he's playing guitar.
Oh, no, he's the guitar player. I'm sorry.
So this was like, because Creed, when Creed started, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember this from like just watching MTV in 1998 a ton because absentee parenting. And Scott Stapp would not shut the fuck up for like 2 straight years about it. Was like him and Jim Morrison was like Fiona Apple and Maya Angelou. Like it was the same thing, and you couldn't not hear about it if you heard about whatever band it was.
So, like, I bet I could just see Scott Stapp having that fucking that dream sequence from Wayne's World 2 where like Jim Morrison keeps visiting him in the middle of the desert and like, oh man, you gotta show me the ways. And he's like, well, my name's Jim Morrison. You got a football career. Yeah, I got a football career. I know. You got a bunch of old.
And that's pretty much how it works out. Like Jim Morrison. People forget that they think that the Jarl as a vocal technique is purely a post-grunge thing, but Jim Morrison was yarling over...
Oh, yeah.
That's who all
Like,
those guys were trying to sound like.
Yeah.
Eddie Vedder.
If you can find it, track down like the isolated vocal take of L.A. Woman, because it sounds fucking terrible.
Oh, that's great, too, because that was him at a very drunk and chubby period.
Oh, yes. Anyway, here's the clip.
Sorry.
Here's the clip that Derek requested I pick out of Creed with Robbie Krieger performing Riders on the Storm, one of a couple Doors songs that they performed.
There's a killer on the road. His brain is squirming like a toad. Take me on holiday. Let your children play. If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die. Killer on the road. Yeah.
Nobody knows where to play.
Well, that was not one of the chords was definitely wrong in there. And that bass player was just like, I bet he was just way too fucking pumped.
If you actually watch the video itself, it's very, very clear that Robbie Krieger does not want to be there.
Yeah, and it's funny because he's trying to fit in, so he's wearing an oversized, like he's wearing an extra large Undertaker t-shirt tucked into khakis.
What is it why Creed though? To be of all the groups, like why did? How did
and just to close out the East Stage, Red Hot Chili Peppers too.
So Creed, Scott Stapp went out of his way from like the minute that My Own Prison became the single that kind of launched them. So in every interview,
I remember it was Creed Fever for a bit in like late '99.
It was weird. Like, I remember that, like, that was when I started to realize the radio is very strange, because I was like, yeah, I really got into Ben Folds 5, and I also really got into Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and I also was hearing a ton of Creed and Dave Matthews Band, and then Tori Amos was on the radio, too, and then Liz Phair had a pop album. Like, none of this makes any fucking sense. Also, House is huge right now on the radio. Like, it all was confusing, but like Scott Stapp made no secret about how much he worshipped Jim Morrison, so that's why Robbie Krieger showed up.
I'm gonna blaze through like the emerging artist stage thing so we can actually get back to talking about, because we've just been talking about like the people on the bill. We haven't even gotten to the complete bugfuck that was Woodstock '99. Yeah. On the emerging artist stage, we got Kirsty Golson, Mo Logren, the Scoldies, Super Suckers, Stormy Mondays, Big Sugar, Muse.
Woo!
Oh, wow. That actually, they would have just put out their first record.
I'm surprised they flew over or like were offered the ride.
John Osajka, Pound, Push Monkey, Cyclefly, Indigenous, our good new metal friends from Chelmsford, Reveille.
Was it really the same band? Reveille?
Oh, yes. Reveille.
Wow, okay.
And capping off the emerging artist stage, that emerging artist, John Entwistle.
Yeah, so new.
Love that guy.
Oh, yeah, the scrappy newcomer, John Entwistle.
Oh, my God. I can't believe that. Okay, so I have heard people reference Reveille as a band that they really like to see at venues I didn't see because I didn't live in the area when this band was playing. So up until this very moment, I was like, oh, that's like a hardcore screamo band from the late 90s, early aughts. And now I'm seeing this, and I'm like, so this is a new metal band that you all have confused for things.
What you got? What you got? What you got? What you got? Yeah, they were rap metal.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to break up with a lot of bands.
There was quite a lot of critical praise for the performances that took place there, but it was completely overshadowed by just what a complete mess the actual event was. For starters, the decision to host the festival on a blacktop-heavy former Air Force base instead of a field meant the environmental conditions would be incredibly treacherous. The late July weather reached over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which was only made worse by the asphalt-heavy venue.
Oh, God, that must have been just cooking those hippies alive.
Cooking them, and then their feet hurt.
Yeah.
As if that wasn't enough, refreshments, including bottled water, were gouged by vendors to major degrees. They were left with the option to pay $4 for a 20-ounce bottle of water, which was about $6 in 2019 dollars, or make a long walk in the heat or cramped bus ride back to Rome, where the city's modest shopping centers were overrun with concert goers and faced stock shortages.
Fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound fun at all. Like, isn't this supposed to be fun?
There was also free water fountains, but the lines got so long that the crowds got frustrated and broke the pipes to provide water to people in the middle of the line, which in turn ended up creating more of those mud pits from the '94 event.
Eventually, every Woodstock just turns to hippies mired in mud.
It's like Dark Souls, where like it's cyclical, but no matter what happens, it's like despair.
It always comes back to the mud. You cannot avoid the mud. So that was their solution to the mud, was to do it on fucking asphalt?
Apparently.
Good God.
and the on-site toilets didn't work, so that's fine.
That's like those are like those people who like own exotic animals and then like they keep them in a concrete cage or something.
Yeah,
like they just like walking around on like hard concrete, pissed off.
Why isn't my ocelot happy?
You know, and if anything is the ultimate domesticated animal that shouldn't be caged, it is the festival goer.
Yeah, of all of them. Yeah, hippies, they require a lot of maintenance.
But not even hippies, because this is some very, like, fucking...
Oh, we got juggalos, we got, like, grunge kids, new metal kids. Yeah, we got
ravers.
all sorts of news. Yeah, ravers.
If you had this exact concoction of attendees today, there would be a riot on the way in.
Oh, it gets worse. There wasn't even respite via the hotels in Rome, because nearly all of them had been booked far in advance. But not for Woodstock. For the Baseball Hall of Fame ceremony that was occurring in nearby Cooperstown. Even the likes of Alanis Morissette, George Clinton, and Howard Stern were turned away from one hotel due to a lack of vacancy. Let's see, what else? At one point, a truck randomly drove through the audience during Fatboy Slim's set. The Tragically Hip were booed for being Canadian.
Yeah,
that's the most American thing I've ever fucking heard.
So how did they find out? Like, it was like someone like put a message up to the crowd.
They performed "Oh Canada," and they were immediately booed and drowned out with the Star Spangled Banner by the audience.
That is holy shit! Why is anyone surprised about the current state of life in the United States?
Yeah.
We had such an obvious tell at Woodstock '99.
Are you saying that the Tragically Hip like started this current of like neoconservatism in the early 2000s?
Yes,
that brought us
it's
to
all
George
the fault
W.
of
Bush
Canadian
years?
power.
I'm not saying they started
Hip.
it. I'm saying that the unfortunate events that occurred that Tragically Hip was the receiving end of should have been the canary in the coal mine for how the next 20 years would go.
What else? An audience member died of hyperthermia with a temperature of 107 degrees in the mosh pit of Metallica's performance. Insane Clown Posse nearly started an audience riot with the promise of free money.
Oh, right.
Like they just goaded the audience with $100 bills. At one point, Dave Matthews remarked at the massive amount of flashing that took place throughout the day. Today, there's an abundance of titties.
Oh,
that's what he said.
He would have said
it. He chose to say,
but
with his words.
That said, if they were playing at the OG Woodstock location, Dairy Farm, he would have said the same thing. And there's 3 times as many boobs per boob having thing on the Dairy Farm.
An odd number. Which is strange.
But it's like for every 2 human boobs, there's 6 cow boobs.
All of these paled in comparison, however, to the incidents of violence that took place on the grounds. Retrospective stories have often pointed to our nu metal chums in Limp Bizkit as a primary instigator, but there were so many elements at play that it's hard to place the blame solely on them.
But can we?
But still, yeah. During their set, frontman and film director Fred Durst...
Film director, come on.
He has directed a John Travolta movie. It's fucking crazy.
All right, fine.
He had been egging the crowd on to get rowdy for the majority of their performance, finally reaching a boiling point as they introduced their song Break Stuff, where Durst encouraged the audience to get mad and incited the crowd to tear the various plywood structures apart. During their set, it would also come about that multiple instances of sexual assault occurred throughout the audience.
Jeez, with Limp Bizkit, there's no fucking way that's the band.
Fred Durst in return would state in an interview, "I didn't see anybody getting hurt."
She said that.
This is a band that was formed in Florida.
I didn't see nothing. Therefore, it didn't happen.
If something from Florida gets famous, there's nothing good happens.
It gets better. He would even later go on to place the blame on Woodstock itself for booking them, knowing how rowdy they would get.
I mean, it's on you guys, as far as I'm concerned.
The violence would only get worse during Red Hot Chili Peppers' set during the final night of the festival.
Yeah, because they suck and you get mad about it.
They're bad about Kiedis' fucking pitchiness on that tour.
Oh, there were other reasons as well. During the final night of the festival, during the finale of their set, the Center to Prevent Youth Violence had been distributing candles to those who stopped at their booth throughout the day, with the intent to hold a candlelight vigil during their performance of Under the Bridge. Many people did do just that, but while many people used the candles like, the way they were intended, many other people used it to light bonfires, using discarded plastic bottles as fuel. By the time the Chili Peppers finished their main set, the fires had spread to both stages, and an audio tower had caught on fire too.
And the fumes had completely engulfed the stage, and they were just all fucked up on melted plastic fumes.
The Chili Peppers would go back out for an encore, during which Anthony Kiedis would remark how amazing the fires looked and that it reminded him of Apocalypse Now. And after performing their track Sir Psycho Sexy, they followed it up with an all-too-appropriate cover of Fire by Jimi Hendrix.
Boy, that's helpful.
Yeah. Kiedis stated in his autobiography Scar Tissue that Fire was not chosen to deliberately provoke the crowd, but as a tribute to Jimi Hendrix, who had also played Fire at the original Woodstock.
Could have done Wind Cries Mary would have chilled everyone out.
Yeah. Regardless of the actual reason, this was around the point that pandemonium finally broke loose and full-fledged riots began.
Yes!
Yeah. Audience members danced around the out-of-control bonfires and ripped pieces of the security fence intended to keep people out as fuel. ATMs were broken into and vendor booths were raided and burglarized. There were multiple instances of rape and assault that occurred during the riots. Eventually, the state troopers, as well as local police and riot control, were called in to attempt to maintain order. The crowd offered little resistance and were pushed back to the main entrance relatively easily.
So it was a bunch of angry, rapey cowards.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. That's wow. We've changed
think that
so
they can
much.
Get away with this shit because they're in a crowd and who's gonna stop them and Fred Durst is up there telling me to just get into my inner caveman and be a real man.
But it sounds like Kiedis. It sounds like Kiedis is worse. Like.
I mean, he's the progenitor for fucking Fred Durst.
I mean, he did lead into that song with a song called Sir Psycho Sexy.
Like there would be no Durst if there were no Kiedis.
Yes.
Like let's be real.
I see that line. Yeah.
Kiedis begat Durst begat, I don't know, Emure or some shit.
Sure. Bungle. Hey, where's Mr. Bungle? Were they going to play this festival?
Yeah, you know what? It's always driven me nuts that with like new metal and all the other shit that comes out of it, people are like, "Oh, they're influenced by Mr. Bungle, and that's how they started doing this." And everyone's like, "But Mr. Bungle's cool." I'm like, "They fucking started it." Like, I'm angry. Like, I like Nirvana, but I'm mad at Nirvana because without Nirvana, we don't get Nickelback. Like I get to have that complicated relationship, but somehow Mr. Bungle gets to just sit here and everyone's like, "No, but they're cool." It's like, do you see what they begat?
Very true. They need to atone for that, for the new metal sin.
Even the fucking Get Up Kids in the emo movement, the Get Up Kids have said, I don't know if it's that great because I hear about bands that they tell us that we were a big influence and then we feel bad about it because
the only big difference that I can really point to is that like Mike Patton and other members of Mr. Bungle actually went out and said, "No, we don't like new metal. New metal is terrible." While Nirvana pretty much just stayed quiet.
Well, I mean,
that's not an implicit, declaration
quiet,
that
he killed himself is what happened.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, it's hard for him to talk.
I was also referring to Dave Grohl and the third one, but
okay.
yeah.
The third one. Yeah, he must not be named.
Well, the third one's so Republican, of course he likes Nickelback. And Dave Grohl is such a centrist, he'll pretend to like Nickelback.
Woodstock 99 was intended to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the original's message of peace, love, and happiness, and it instead descended into chaos and earned a dubious honor that many publications picked up on as the day the 90s died. Which...
Did the 90s ever truly live, though?
The 90s truly died in that day in 1999.
I love that. People say that about Woodstock, like the original. They're like, it died that day in 1969. Like, yeah.
I mean, there were a few...
Well, of course it did.
There were a lot of cultural things happening towards the end of the 90s. There was, like, Columbine and shit that happened that year. And, like, we the fucking president Clinton and like being impeached, Monica Lewinsky, and just that sort of holes being blown in the American idealism and exceptionalism. And
you know what's funny is
I mean, that's
Hole
what
had a
gets people
great
pissed
record.
off.
Hole had a great album, Celebrity Skin, that came out in '99, and not too many years after that, the movie Blow was also a big hit. So holes were blown. Sorry.
I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick. 1 second.
All right. I think we're pretty much approaching the end anyway.
Sorry about all the railroads, but
That's okay. We'll get it in editing.
I hope you got at least, well, you'll definitely have enough shit to pick from.
Oh, totally. I have like a shit ton of notes about the 50th anniversary kerfuffle, but I don't really want to talk about that.
If you want to get into it,
it happened so recently. Who gives a shit?
I mean, I can shut the fuck up for a bit if you need to power through.
Well, we are coming up on like more than 2 hours worth of recording,
That's
so
true.
I figure we should probably get things wind things down sooner than later.
Yeah.
Though you said you've gone 3 hours at times with the podcast you write on.
Yeah. Well, it's tough on the other one because the other two guys are a lot younger and they take it a lot more seriously, so they write out long things to say. And then I show up and kind of throw a wrench in the gears, where all three of us really liked this black metal EP that came out 6 months ago. But the other two guys had these long kind of poetic things about this black metal EP, and I was like, here's the thing about black metal. That guy says his name is Ackles or whatever. His name is fucking Kyle. He lives just outside of Denver, and everyone's taking it too seriously. He put out a really good album, but oh my god, fucking Kyle, shut up.
I'm just stepping into that conversation and having a good chuckle about Kyle.
There was no attempt at a 40th anniversary Woodstock Festival, and instead, surviving acts would tour throughout the summer of 2009 as the Heroes of Woodstock Tour, featuring original alumnus like Jefferson Starship, Canned Heat, Big Brother and the Holding Company, and various others, and of course Country Joe McDonald.
Starship, it was Jefferson Airplane at the original, right?
Yep. The Wikipedia article said Starship.
No, I mean, I'm sure. It's just we're going to hear music from the film Mannequin in this version of Woodstock.
We built this city. Yeah, that always makes me think of the 60s. So this would have been 2009, huh?
Yeah.
The 40th anniversary. So
and then
I was going to say, Black Eyed Peas and, I don't know, 808s and Heartbreaks.
Let's get it censored in here. This word's not cool to say in here. Yeah, the Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, there wasn't any of that sort of intermingling until 2019 when they tried to do a 50th anniversary one, and behind-the-scenes shit just completely derailed it.
Oh, that one, that old chestnut, that was fun.
Oh, the Fire Festival?
Basically, yes.
Because honestly, every version of Woodstock that you've named sounds like a successful by-accident Fire Festival.
Even 99?
Yeah, all of them sound like, hey, you know what? People showed up and it technically finished happening.
Derek, man, listen. It's always been about the music. It's always been about the love and the peace. It doesn't matter if we fuck entire farms over in entire towns and
Are you gonna have your bologna sandwich or can I have it? Your bologna sandwich in a styrofoam container. Given to me by Ja Rule.
Man, I think we could all learn a thing or two from this sandwich, man.
How many times have you done a Tommy Chong impression before this? Because it's so fucking good.
I don't even think of that as Tommy Chong. I just think of that as a generic hippie voice.
I think that's where you start, yeah. That's where you start with Tommy Chong and then try to make it your own. But this one, I think Tommy Chong took over a part of you.
I think he did, too.
Oh, man. This feels like a good enough time to just sort of wind things down right here and say thank you very much for being on the program with us, Derek.
We did it.
I don't know if we necessarily learned anything today, but it was very fun to take.
Oh God, I hope not.
to take this boomer fantasy to task.
Well, this kind of turned more into like just Woodstock in general's failings, which for me, I'm very happy about because I'm one of those people who's like not fun at parties, and I have to like remind people like Woodstock was not that great.
Yeah,
There's probably a lot more bad shit that happened at the one in '69 that they just didn't report because of like different cultural mores.
I'm the same. I mean, even recording this, I had to like throw out facts that were killed the flow or were a bummer. So like I get it.
Yeah, to tie it all back into like something a little closer to like one of my subcultures of choice. I feel the same way whenever I hear like old people talk about how revolutionary Woodstock was. When I hear like old goths talk about how amazing Man Ray was.
Yep, I get it.
Because it's like, okay, cool. There's nothing that I can do about it. I was not of legal age to go to clubs when it closed.
I'm really sorry that I wasn't alive in 1986.
I'm not going to get to experience it. You telling me this is only giving me trivia that I can't use.
I feel the same way, like, and sort of in a similar subculture that crosses over a little bit. I've had like a ton of people who like they'll see some of the bands that I like metal ones or like the weirder emo bands that I was into in high school, and they'll be like, "You should definitely get into Klaus Nomi because he did some weird shit." And then every time I've tried, I'm like, I can't fucking.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Klaus is tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nomi.
It's hard to get into Klaus beyond like the first couple of songs.
Like I get it, but I'm also in the end, I'm like, this is Tim Burton yelling at me in the style of Tiny Tim. Like I can't do this for that long.
Oh man. I mean, like, I don't mean to, denigrate, Man Ray or these metal bands or Klaus Nomi or even Woodstock, really, to be perfectly frank, because like you have your nostalgia, but we're all of a generation that's getting really nothing out of it.
I mean, I love a lot of those acts just sonically and like what they do musically. I don't really give a shit about the live aspect of it because I wasn't there. It wasn't part of the experience. I'm experiencing their music now. And like, I'm making my own associations with their music. And like, I kind of wish, the older generations could like kind of appreciate that. Like, yeah, I respect what these people are doing. And they're like a big, the mechanics of like how they put songs together and perform are like a big part of how we are now. But at the same time, we're getting very subjective experiences out of it. We're not, we weren't there. Like, and they just, I don't know. It's this type of shit is for the ages and for everyone. It's not just for boomers, and they need to let go.
There's like a sacred thing that. I remember, feeling and seeing a lot more in music when I was younger. And I think a lot of boomers have assigned that to Woodstock and the legacy of Woodstock and those bands. And I don't know, as I've gotten older, like the idea of like the singer-songwriter or the band as being this kind of elevated kind of prophet thing that is definitely what like, I think it's a big part of what made Nirvana a big deal, but I think it's a huger part of what made Woodstock such a cultural thing to reckon with. And then in hindsight, the stuff that hit me really deeply at the age that I think the Woodstock bands would have hit the people that attended that, I feel like a lot of the people that I grew up with, like we knew a little bit on the way in that it was like kind of silly and we had to keep it to ourselves. Talking about emo specifically, but there's the crossover to punk and hardcore. But then as an adult, it's sort of like, yeah, this meant a lot to me, but like I can let it go and I can joke about how silly it was. And it seems like a lot of stuff prior to the 2000s, there was still this weight to it that because it meant something to you, it had to be important to everyone or something. And it feels like after the 2000s, when stuff got like more accessible, easier to find, or like a little more disposable, it's okay to like, I like it and I can also make fun of it. Like it feels like Woodstock kind of got this armor around it where you weren't allowed to shit on it.
Yeah, no, I get that. And interesting point about Woodstock 99 is, did kind of coincide with the age of like Napster and shit like that. So there's right after that, it was like a complete paradigm shift in how the industry worked anyway. So it's like, and then, yeah, we had all these like Coachellas and fucking whatever you have, fire festivals, and just like kind of just doing the same thing where it's like, oh, it's all the big rock acts and all the big hip hop, all the big movers and shakers. We got Queens of the Stone Age, we got fucking Kanye, we got
Foo Fighters.
Beyonce, Foo Fighters.
When we have Kanye, though, do we know we have Kanye?
Can anyone truly claim to have Kanye?
But at the same, but like here's the thing, like at the same time, it's like who cares?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like I feel like the Woodstock festivals of 94, 99, like at least there was some like, oh man, we're getting all these guys together. But now it's become such a commonplace thing, and like we had Boston Calling and all these other like also ran festivals, and it's just it's just like who cares? Like we know that they're gonna do it, they're gonna show up. Celebrities like money. Like,
well, and not, those lines between like the tiers of celebrity, especially in music, seem to get blurred. Like, the most recent Taylor Swift thing has The National and Bon Iver guesting on it, and it's like, like Bon Iver, like I know he got a Grammy on an album and stuff, but he still does like weird shit that like, despite the fact that it's pop, it's like. Taylor Swift can transition towards this indie folk cred thing, and then Bon Iver can transition into this pop cred thing, and that didn't used to exist. Like, you couldn't navigate between those two worlds. Like, you would be branded one or the other. You couldn't do both.
And I think that's actually a good thing to be positive about in music today. It's just there's less gatekeeping, I guess, or like the gatekeepers really start to look silly after a while. Because like, what are you defending? Like fucking relax. It's a fucking band. Like you're like worshiping the the merits of what like four dipshits from Middle America like could happen to do together, but like otherwise they're complete assholes just like you individually. Like just being able to separate that.
Yeah.
But then, just enjoy taking the music as is, and being able to take aspects from other genres and bring it all together, and not be not feel like it's wrong in any way. Like just being brave about it. I appreciate that. Those are my final thoughts. I think we need to wrap it up. I'm hungry.
Yeah, it's getting to be dinner time. Thanks again for being on the program, Derek. We'll definitely have you back on at some point to do an actual album.
No, you know what? The less focused, the better.
Okay, maybe we'll do another one of these things if people don't want to like murder us.
Yeah, if this works out okay, feel free to edit the fuck out of it to make it listenable.
No, it was good. I mean, yeah, that's editing this is going to be pretty tremulous. But
that was my fault for all my snafus.
But this was a really good episode all the same, and really brought out some vibrant discussion. Do you have anything you want to plug, Derek?
So Crowfeeder is no longer a 2-piece. We are now a 4-piece, which I'm hoping will make it easier to write some future stuff. We're still working on an EP that's 2 songs. One of them's 12 minutes, and it's kind of a little like early or like transition era Who like rock opera type thing. But it's sort of difficult to write lyrics for a song that long, so that's what's taken so long. I'm also on a podcast where I similarly derail it. It's called From Corners Unknown. They have a blog. They focus on mostly metal, underground stuff, a lot of black metal. When I show up, we're doing short track reviews, but I also have incorporated a rule where if in the group chat they mention something shitty too many times, we have to review that. So as a result, we've reviewed one of the Buzz Ballads comps and the Corey Taylor from Slipknot solo pop rock record.
Oh no!
So not Stone Sour, but his like.
Yeah, it's called CMFT, and that's short for Corey motherfucking Taylor.
No, thank you.
They joked about it enough times that I was like, we're dealing with like a Candyman or Beetlejuice thing. Like you say the word too many times, and now it's real and in your life, and you have to deal with it.
How many times is too many?
Depends on how funny I think it's going to be.
It kind of varies from item to item. It's subjective.
It took a lot of Corey Taylor before I was like, all right, we have to deal with it because you're just obsessed.
Do you want to plug anything, Pat?
Yeah. I got a record out or coming out on December 18th. Not sure when this episode's coming out, if it's before or after, but it is on Bandcamp, Patrick S. Barry at bandcamp.com. My first solo record with my name, Patrick S. Barry. It's not smell or anything like that. It's called 20. And yeah, check it out. I've been working on it all year. It took me like fucking, I think I started back in April, and I finally finished mixing it like yesterday. So yeah, it was a really long effort that I put a lot of shit into, and yeah, hope you guys like it. And then yeah, check out I'm gonna be on an episode of Hell is a Musical.
Yep.
I think later this month. Yeah, for Emmett Otter's Jug Band.
Yep.
So that should be a hoot.
Oh, I just watched a thing about that whole. Fuck, I'm gonna have to listen to it.
It's a doozy. Yeah, then I should be picking up must watch movies again with Nate sometime in January, and we're gonna have Scott on to do Glenn Ross. Yeah, that should happen sometime in January. Gonna pick that show up again, and I should be doing a discography deep dive pretty soon too. You guys have been waiting for that, so that should be popping out sometime in Jan or Feb.
Yeah, you've been threatening us with that for a while now.
Yeah. I make lots of promises, and sometimes I stick to them.
I might have a new Fatigue single in the next couple of weeks. I've been working on something with my friend Kofi.
Yeah.
Also known as Kofi the Spider-Man, so maybe we'll have something coming out. But otherwise, I'll just plug the other Zero Science podcast. Go check out Old Men Yell at Cloud, Hell is a Musical, Must Watch Movies, Nickelback in, Clamshell Case Files, World of Commotion, the whole sophomore slumps, every last one of them.
Yeah. Oh, and you did a split with the Difference Engine, our good friend Christopher Brown.
Yeah, that's right. Last week. Me and CB were originally supposed to have these on a compilation, and mistakes were made, so now we're not on the compilation. So we decided let's just fucking put it out as a EP for the final Bandcamp Friday. So we did.
Mistakes were made. That sounds so ominous. Like,
well, I don't want to like call anyone out though.
I just picture Christopher just like, what did you send him a dumpster truck full of poop? I don't know. I just thought, I don't know. Well, they just fucked up our chances of being on the compilation.
Yeah, but now you guys get to write a concept album about the premise for the first Half-Life game, so you're good.
I don't recall too many dump trucks full of poop in Half-Life.
No, but mistakes were made. They let the guy, and he did the thing, and he pushed it, and then, there's a game.
Oh, incidents occurred.
I just aged myself so fucking hard.
No, I welcome Half-Life references here.
You ever crouch jump? It's crazy how much higher up the stairs you get.
We need to put an end to this. I think I heard a knock on my door.
All right, sorry.
Our theme song is Sunny Day by the band Froggy and the Friendship. You could check them out at froggyandthefriendship.bandcamp.com. If you have an album you want to suggest to us to review, or just want to leave us some feedback or a comment, email us at jukeboxzeroespodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/jukeboxzeroespodcast, or on Twitter at twitter.com/jukeboxzeroes. You can find us, rate us, review us, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, or check out our archives on the Zero Science main page. Jukebox Zeroes is a production of the Zero Science Network. For more great podcasts, go check out zero-science.com. That about does it for Jukebox Zeroes. I'm Lilz.
And I'm Patrick.
And
so I got a couple of album recommendations for you if you're going on the Bandcamp.
Fuck off!